Methylene blue is highly neurotoxic to your brain and mind. Comment. Methylene blue is a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, MAOI. As such, it is one of the most toxic agents ever used in medicine and psychiatry and the mother of the most dangerous drugs used in psychiatry.
There you go, people. Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that because several people have reached out to me asking my opinion on methylene blue, and I just have never studied it enough to feel comfortable having an opinion. And then I saw you. And welcome to the Deconstructing Conventional podcast. This interview is brought to you by Healing United, a private membership association committed to helping you reclaim sovereignty over your health, life, and future. You could say our tagline is question everything and rebuild intentionally. In the audio format of the show, there's additional commentary before each episode, and there are also over a dozen audio-only episodes. You can find the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, including the Healing United PMA app. Look for it in the App Store, and if you want to learn more about the work we do, and especially how we help people heal when the doctors have no answers, visit us online at healingunited.today. Now, on with the show. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to today's show. It is my delight to have one of my living heroes, Dr. Peter Breggin, on the show. And for those of you who have not heard of him, I guess I'd describe him as one of the bravest and most intelligent people I've ever met. So he is a lifelong psychiatrist and author. He's written, by my count, at least 20 books. He's been an expert witness in more than 100 court cases related to the damages done by psychiatric medications. He has his own show on America Out Loud and is a prolific writer on Substack with his blog called Breggin Alerts, Exposing Global Predators, where he writes about all things health, COVID, and freedom. And I don't think you'll find a man with a more impressive resume, yet he is very humble and caring and down to earth. And he's basically the man I want to be when I grow up. So, Dr. Breggin, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm delighted to have you here.
You look very grown up and you look very intelligent, and I suspect you have quite a bit of courage. Actually, for the people that you like, that we're close with, you mentioned Catherine Austin Fitz, and you mentioned Lee Valit, and those, to interview those people is to be brave in itself. So I'm sure you're doing a good job for us out there in the world.
Well, thank you very much for those kind words. Well, I'm as interested just in what got you into psychiatry as what kept you in it. So before we get into today's topic about the dangers of psychiatry, I guess talk a minute about who Peter Breggin is. I'm embarrassed to admit I have some clients who don't know who you are. So if you don't mind, I'd love for you to start maybe with the story of kind of being the wide-eyed 18-year-old who was getting permission from the hospital superintendent to work with the institutionalized people that most had just written off. So maybe tell us that story or anything else about
Well,
who
I'm
you
going to
are.
start now that I'm 89 years old. I'm going to start earlier even
Okay.
because I had this really astonishing early life career um, that came out of the blue, and it started when I was 12. Up to that point, I've been sad and depressed. I've been raised by a nanny who was forced to leave when I was 5. And I was just slightly bewildered. But I look at a picture of myself in the 6th grade yearbook, and I've got this big grin on my face. And the yearbook, I'm elected president, and they say I'm very witty. And that was the beginning out of the blue that I might be somebody in some way. And that never ended. I was president of the homeroom, and well, that was the class, but then 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, I was president of my freshman class, my sophomore class, vice president of my junior year, editor of the newspaper. I had wonderful friends. I looked really successful, and I was dreadfully sad inside.
Hmm.
And I did a lot of reading on my own, and I was very aware of, this was in a very Jewish community. It was a new Jewish community coming into a Christian community out on the South Shore of Long Island. Hewlett, Woodmere, Lynbrook, the 5 towns. All the people around me who were friends were Jewish, and then we had other friends. It was how it just separated out in those days. Quite interesting to think back to it. And the young people I knew were, as a group, the brightest I would ever meet. I mean, they were all just full of stuff, and they were interesting and exciting, and we were friends. And I was a defender because Jews generally, although certainly in our class, they were tough Jews because half the class was Jewish, and some of them terrific athletes. I was somewhat of an athlete, but I was a defender of anybody who messed with my classmates, all 5'4", 135 pounds. I mean, to the extent that nobody messed with my friends.
Mm.
And part of it was rooted in a sense I got very early and I've talked about this on the air before, so I like to think of new ways to talk about it. But basically, I was watching a family movie when I was 9 years old at the theater. My mother and father were with me. I have no idea what we were going to see. And Movie Tone News put on the invasion of Europe and the liberation of the first extermination camp.
Mm.
The first film's out. And I had no idea about this. And none of my friends in this we never talked about the Holocaust.
Mm.
Our parents didn't want us to know, I don't think. Growing up, even into high school, nobody talked about it that I can remember. I can remember a single conversation about it. And it was overwhelming to watch this. Dead Jews in piles, half dead Jews hanging on wires,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then it became a double whammy. My not very empathic uncle, married into the family, had been a liberator of one of the camps. He loved the war. He loved telling me little stories of people getting shot and killed and
Mm.
all these kinds of things. He'd risen up from being like a storekeeper to an officer in the army, and he had those qualities, and they really came out. I don't think he was ever fully fulfilled again, but he showed me photographs that he took of a torture chamber
Mm.
in vivid detail that I've never disclosed to anybody else, not even my wife. And I think that those two things built in me a choice. Am I going to be scared or am I going to be mad? Am I going to be frightened or am I going to stand up for myself? What am I going to do when the day comes?
Mm.
And I had nobody to talk to about it.
Wow.
So this connects directly to my freshman year at Harvard. I was into an honors program at Harvard. I mean, that was really good coming from a public school. And it was American history and literature. With no idea. It's really ironic because that has really helped me in what I do now and looking at politics. But I only had 2 years of that because I eventually went pre-med. But a friend of mine asked me to come out and volunteer at the state mental hospital. His brother had started a program there, Harvard Radcliffe Mental Hospital Volunteer Program. We had people from other schools like Brandeis driving in, going to the state mental hospital with different cars, but all under our program. And eventually I would lead the program for a couple of years and have an impact on organized psychiatry to some extent and got write-ups in big newspapers, magazines, got write-ups in mental health programs, not necessarily about me, but about our program. Um, and Although there's a picture of me somewhere in the Saturday Evening Post kneeling beside a patient holding her hand on the women's violent ward
Mm.
of Metropolitan State Hospital.
Yeah.
So way back then I was involved, but the striking thing was that the minute I got inside, and maybe even from the outside, but the minute I got inside the state mental hospital, it was an extermination concentration camp.
Mm.
The images, the smell. My uncle told me about the stench of these things. It was bad or worse than any movie you ever seen of the snake pits. It was 1954. It would take another year or so for the antipsychotic drugs to come in. So the patients still showed feelings.
Mm.
So it was really, many of them were battered by shock treatment, by lobotomy, by insulin coma poisoning. And so I started working in the worst hell in America, the state mental hospital, the worst expression of psychiatry, the state mental hospital. Later, I would learn that the Holocaust actually grew out of psychiatry in the state mental hospitals.
Yeah.
And I wrote a scientific paper on it and delivered it not in Germany at the first medical conference in Germany ever on medicine in the Third Reich. I became
Wow.
so knowledgeable, and I wrote a good article about it. Um, and that organized psychiatry started murdering its patients and was planning it before Hitler had any power. They were planning how they could murder their patients if they could just set it up right. And they called it useless. They called patients useless eaters.
Hmm.
And I didn't know at the time, but it's a part of socialism. It's a part of collectivism. It's part of big government to want to depopulate people. And this was also tied in, of course, to anti-Semitism. But here they didn't even do the Jews. They didn't give euthanasia to Jews. They didn't deserve it. They gave the euthanasia to their own populations. Going boom back and forth here, but it all ties in, I hope, with a big paintbrush.
Yeah.
And so I started to see what was going on. And for whatever reason, maybe because I had been depressed pretty much totally until age 12, and then only mildly or moderately or up and down or something thereafter until Ginger. In my 40s, I really found happiness. It's really
Mhm.
interesting. But I was always, doing things. And part of why I want to tell people about my successes, because I'm also telling people how much I was suffering inside. But it wasn't like I was ineffective.
Yeah.
I was ineffective with my love life, but not with the rest of
Yeah. Man, that is such
it.
rich context. I didn't know much of any of that. And
No, so
it's
you wouldn't
to
have.
hear the part about, I heard about the part about the hospitals and how you made a big difference there. But you just preemptively answered my next question, which is just where did you get your pain tolerance for standing up against big systems and what keeps you going? And I can already sense the answer to that now just from hearing that story. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
What do you sense?
I just sense that you as a kid, you had a your own appearance of success, yet feeling empty or feeling
Yeah,
like you weren't measuring up. And then you see that in the faces of other people. Then you see the Holocaust. Then you see institutionalized, essentially depopulation. You see
yeah.
hospitals not doing what
Torture.
hospitals are supposed to do. They're opposite of
Yeah,
it. And it's the conscience
yeah.
came alive, it sounds like.
Well, the conscience was already alive, and that's part of the being sad and depressed,
Mm.
the sensitive. Um, I had one or two wonderful professors of psychiatry. Most of them they have to be so corrupt to participate in the system. But one was Thomas Zass, SZASZ. And Tom's used to say, if you weren't suicidal as an adolescent, you weren't a sensitive human being.
Oh, wow. That's one way to put it. Okay. Well,
Um, but yes, and it's sort of built into me. I'm absolutely alone dealing with the Holocaust in my head, and I'm going through all the alternatives. And out of that comes nobody will do
yeah.
that to me. I'll die, kill him first, get killed, whatever it is, no one will humiliate me like that. I wasn't so much afraid of death. It was like, we're so humiliated.
Yeah.
I never realized that before.
Yeah.
You know what? I wasn't thinking about they'll kill me. It was like, they will never do anything to
Yeah. It
me.
was a shot at your
That's,
dignity that you wouldn't allow.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I actually got a chill just thinking about that. I had not realized that till now.
Hmm.
And to this day, I don't fear death in particular, but I sure don't want anybody messing with my dignity, myself, my loved ones, and so on. So there's this kind of mix that evolves. And the program, I was so successful in it. I was giving lectures as an undergraduate. I had my first publication in a Yale review of some sort, university for a paper I gave on volunteering. My first book started to be written, and I would eventually come out as a co-author, but they would sanitize the book that I started. The
Mm.
book that I started was State Mental Hospitals Were Hellholes, and we brought love into it.
Mm.
And
You
there
did?
was neither the hellhole nor the love was in the sanitized book that came out.
Right. That
All
doesn't
it
sell
had
as
was,
many drugs.
um, so I went into psychiatry to reform it. Why not? I'm 18, 19 years old when I get involved. I'm discovering that the people that well, I knew this the minute I walked in there that the patients were no different from me. That's one thing that I knew immediately, and I can't tell you why that was, other than my own sadness. But maybe I got touched with empathy by God. I'm not sure how this all works, honestly. We're really thinking about it, me and Ginger, a lot lately. Been married 42 years now. We're thinking a lot about our blessings and our good fortune and how does this all happen? Why are we alive? How did we stay from being killed? And
Good questions.
interesting conversation
It
in the
is.
evenings. Um, but I, I've been on radio and God, I even was on the Voice of America in high school for an editorial I wrote praising the UN.
Huh.
Read it on Voice of America. I was naturally left wing, as any good young person is. And I was naturally being rewarded by it,
Yeah.
getting on the Voice of America.
Yeah.
I have no idea what your politics are. But I actually thought I could go into psychiatry in some way and reform it. And there were wings of psychiatry. I didn't know they'd all be dead in 5 years or 10 years, the most. One wing was like a communist wing, a left wing, where, you explain mental illness by illness in the community, by illness in the society. And there were people talking about that. Then there were people who were less political, but they talked about community psychiatry. We have to improve our communities. Then there was psychoanalytic psychiatry, where you had to understand people. There were branches. And I went into psychiatry thinking that I was going to do some combination maybe of community and psychoanalytic or something, but I'd be going to make a big difference in psychiatry, I thought. The
You have.
I'm not sure how much. I have stopped more or less lobotomy. Then from there on, we have to kind of wonder. But I have been working at it, and lobotomy is going to come back as soon as I'm gone. I already have them saying we just got to get rid of him or
Wow. Okay.
handle
Well,
him
for
as
people
one.
who don't know, you're one of the reasons why frontal lobotomies are now not happening. So for people who don't know what that is,
Rarely, rarely. They hide them now. Yeah.
sheesh. Okay. Well, tell people what one is, because I think when we get to the term chemical lobotomy, it'll mean more to the listener.
Yeah, and I've talked enough about it myself specifically. Um, Psychiatry had its only revolution in the 1930s. The revolution was they realized that if they damaged the brain, they could make their patients docile.
Mm,
That is the only revolution we've ever had in psychiatry. And all the end point of all psychiatric treatments is docility.
mm,
It's a blessing if you're in the hospital to the nurses, and sometimes it's a blessing to your family if you've been very difficult or they're very violent. And sometimes it's a blessing to yourself because you think you're not suffering anymore.
mm. Yeah.
But it's never because you've been made more powerful. Psychiatry never makes you more powerful. It never makes you able to think better. It always messes with your brain. And it has to be distinguished from psychotherapy, which is no longer done by psychiatrists. The psychoanalytic wing is gone.
Huh.
So they don't even teach you to talk. They teach you can't talk to schizophrenia now.
Really?
The exact
The only way
obvious
you
of
can help them is with a chemical intervention at this point? Is that?
instantly, yes, and as fast as possible. In the
Geesh.
emergency room, preferably, and tell them they can never come off.
Wow. Okay. So frontal lobotomy, for my understanding of it, there's a probe under the eye that goes up into the brain. Is that right?
That's one way. That's one avenue. So in the 30s, we get electroshock treatment.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Everybody knows what that is. I think you blast your brain, poor patient's brain, you send them into a coma with convulsions. You do it in the old days with just enough electricity to cause that. Nowadays, why they claim it's been safer, you do it with 8 to 10 times the electricity needed to cause the coke. It's built in a machine. You can't even do the lighter amounts.
Wow.
So you give a person enough electricity to mimic an extremely severe blow on the head from smashing your head into the windshield of your car, and then you are knocked out and you have convulsions, maybe. You always have them with electricity. You have convulsions, makes them worse. So not only is your brain injured, it's going flatline for a time, and then convulsing or going flatline in some weird combinations. It's awful.
Jeez.
Into that picture, a man named Moniz, M-O-N-I-Z, in Portugal in 1938, decides that he's going to open the heads of his patients. He's a not a, is Moniz a psychiatrist? I'm trying to remember what he exact credentials was. He's more like a neurologist. And to open their heads surgically and slice and dice the front of the brain. And he invents an instrument that's sort of curved with a wire, like a dicer. And he slices into the front of the brain. It's particularly what's called the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex is in front of the frontal lobes, and it is the surface area. That's the cortex, the surface area, and it's where the finest tuning things take place of civilization.
Mm.
The whole frontal lobes is like the embodiment of civilization in us. It is, it's the largest lobe. It's what gives us, in comparison, say, monkeys or dogs or apes, a bulging forehead.
Mm-hmm.
Walter Freeman really liked this a lot. He was a brutal psychiatrist. Everybody respected him or feared him. He was in America, so he took this over to America. He did 5,000 of these, and he did them like a monster. He would get a little 10-year-old girl in his office, tell mom she needed a lobotomy on the first visit, give her shock treatment to knock her out, and take a dirty ice pick and slip. This is the last time you'll hear me be like this today. I won't, don't stop listening. Take a dirty ice pick, slip it around the eyeball, and punch it through the very thin bone behind the eye and swoosh it.
Gosh.
A monster. And then he would do shows at state hospitals around the country. He was never confronted, never threatened till I came along,
Wow.
which is quite bizarre. As far as I know, he never had a lawsuit against him until I came along. And he would do a show, sometimes like like a bull guy, tormenting the bull in the ring. He'd put 2 ice picks through at once and swish him around. People noted he barely wiped them between the patients wheeled in and out.
Wow.
One split second of that ice pick, one split second, irrevocably changed a full human being into a shambles.
Hmm. Yeah. What a process. Well, so that's what a lobotomy is, friends. And when you hear him describe as we go on what a chemical lobotomy, modern psychiatric meds are, now you have a context for that
Yeah,
frame. But
all modern psychiatric meds, all psychiatric meds, starting with the very most powerful ones that originally were invented, all psychiatric meds tamper with and either overactivate or suppress nerves that go throughout the brain.
yep.
Some of them focus on the main pathway to the frontal lobes. And those are the so-called antipsychotic drugs. They're not antipsychotic at all. They do the same thing to a normal animal or chimpanzee as they do to people. They take away your ability to be yourself, to be energized, to be loving, to be caring, to be hateful. Maybe not to be angry. So you can still get angry, I think. It's a lower phenomena. Judgment's gone. Self-insight is gone. You can communicate, and sometimes sensitively, and I've done it with patients to whom that has been done, but it is so sad. it is so incredibly sad to try to do it. It's like a tragedy. You're like in a tragedy. It's like you're helping a soul come through a damaged brain. That's what it feels like. It feels like I see you there, I see you there, but they can't get out. And this is, in fact, what happens to many patients who are routinely on antidepressants, on stimulants, mood altering drugs, people who love them.
Mm.
And this could be somebody here I'm talking to now,
Yeah.
somebody who's just on routine psych drugs. You may not even know that you're not quite there.
Yeah. Well,
But if you've got a drug that is changing your brain, it is not helping your brain. It's making it a little less functional. You can recover. I've written a book, Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal, and you don't want to stop your meds automatically because it's too dangerous. And I'll tell
mhm.
you more about the book and the principles later if we get a chance. But right now we're talking about the horror. Um, I'll give you an example, a very simple example from myself. Benadryl is used in psychiatry a lot. It's used because it impacts certain areas of the brain that the psychiatric drugs impair, and they sometimes used to try to reverse things that the drugs do because it's doing the same thing but differently to these regions. So Benadryl is a big antihistamine, which are where some of one of the just to tie it together. A lot of the antipsychotic drugs are derived from antihistamines originally. I would take a Benadryl because I have had some asthma. It's almost gone now. Really is gone now. And allergies, some allergies, mostly gone now. And the I would take it at night, and then I would get up in the morning, and I would get irritable with ginger
Mm.
as I withdrew from the Benadryl in the morning, or was still toxic, or both, because you can be toxic and in withdrawal. And I get irritable with it, and she'd say, "Honey, I I didn't do anything wrong."
That's the Benadryl talking, darling. Yeah.
And I would say something, "Yes, that's right." She wouldn't do it grim. She wouldn't make fun of me. She'd say, "I think it's the Benadryl."
Mm.
And I'd say, I'd do some insight, but I'd be a little foggy coming out of the Benadryl, and I'd say I'm sorry and work on it. And then the second or third day, I got it, and I've never taken Benadryl again.
Good for you. Well, talk to us about the part of the brilliance of the pharmaceutical companies was that two-word phrase, chemical imbalance. So, we're talk about the concept of a chemical imbalance. Is that a strictly a marketing thing, or is it just another
Well,
way to?
it's a goddamn fraud.
Mm.
They'd ne they'd never. They oh God, how they didn't want me in a courtroom talking about this stuff. I wouldn't say a goddamn fraud. I'll say it's totally untrue. It's a marketing ploy to the only imbalance that actually occurs in the brains of people who are going routinely to psychiatrists is the first drug dose.
Mm.
And
That's the chemical.
that's a violent biochemical imbalance induced instantly as soon as it gets into your blood brain and gets into your bloodstream. Then it crosses the barrier of the brain. The
Hmm.
brain is crafted to be protected from trauma by a skull and by some water there that gets into the brain and some other things, meninges, and by a private circulatory system.
Hmm.
It sort of says, "Hey, I'm the brain. I'm not going to relate all the junk you put in your circulatory system, and I'm not supposed to." So you got to get through into the circulatory system of the brain. The moment a neurotoxin enters, and all psychiatric drugs are neurotoxins, and they knew it in the beginning. Now they don't teach it anymore,
Mm.
but it's still true. They give the same drugs and they don't say it's a neurotoxin. Once it gets through the blood-brain barrier, it is going to routinely wash over all the neurons in the brain, wash through it just goes everywhere. It's a fluid in a biological soft process. So Now, some drugs will be more attracted to one place or another, but they're going everywhere. The frontal lobes are huge. Any drug that's affecting the brain is going to affect the frontal lobes, directly or indirectly. Dopamine is the main neurotransmitter system to the frontal lobes, but serotonin, I'm sorry, but serotonin goes everywhere. So if you just look at two different drug groups, you look at the antipsychotics, and what was quickly learned back in 1950s when they were discovered was they stop up some basic system they didn't know was dopamine in the basal ganglia of the brain,
Hmm.
just like a disease they recognize called large encephalitis, large. I think I'm the only doc who ever wrote a full paper on this and delivered it in state mental hospitals, that there was this disease they knew of, lethargic encephalitis. It spread around the world at the end of the Spanish flu and then disappeared. So kind of a mystery disease. Still not sure exactly what caused it. Most people think it's a virus, but it doesn't have the same infectious qualities. It didn't. But it made people lethargic and apathetic. And then it affected the part of the brain below the frontal lobes called the basal ganglia, where coordination takes place, where whether you can reach properly and speak properly, anything that involves any voluntary muscle, whether you breathe properly, it's all coming out of there.
Hmm.
And that got disrupted. And they'd have huge neurological conferences, just this flu-like syndrome that made people apathetic, gave them all these weird things, sometimes made them psychotic, sometimes killed them, sometimes didn't. I've got textbooks on it.
Hmm.
And doctors don't even know it existed. Um, and they saw that and they said, when we give Thorazine, the first big drug, Thorazine, you still can get that in an emergency room in particular if you're looking a little nutty or a
Hmm.
little scary. Um, that you get all the same symptoms.
Wow.
And so they said, and they wrote this, we realized we could cause virtually an epidemic of this kind of lethargic encephalitis by just giving out the medicine. Well, within 1 year to 2 years, every single state hospital in the world was subdued by Thorazine, Haldol, and they're still being given to people and derivatives of it like Abilify,
Hmm.
Invega, Zyprexa, Seroquel you'll take for sleep. There's a whole raft of drugs. You can Google dopamine blockers. You'll find some things that are used for nausea. They're dopamine blockers. All of them composite. They can all cause this array of distortions. And now on television, you'll see them making money from drugs that are used to control TD. You see this on television. They're horrible drugs. I would avoid them even if you have TD, unless you're an extremist.
Hmm.
Because TD can disable you.
And TD is what for people who don't know?
Tardive dyskinesia,
Okay. And that,
delayed dyskinesia, because the dyskinesia usually takes 30 days or more before it first appears. It can appear with your first dose. I've been in legal cases, done a lot of legal cases. Oh, and the things they do to prevent me from having any more legal cases are amazing. They must be buying off lawyers around the world. I mean, it's quite amazing.
wow. Okay. Well, let's rewind history a little bit too, because you recently did a great interview with Dr. Lee Vliet about the dangers of methylene blue. And one of the things I didn't know is how old it is. So talk about the history of that a little bit and how it was, and you even made the comment it's used as a base for medicines today. So talk to us a little bit about the dangers of that or anything else
Yeah.
you want to
Well,
fill
I
in.
became very concerned. I like to think of myself as a member of the loosely affiliated health freedom fighters.
We're glad to have you.
And by the way, this is the first group I've been as happy to be in as I was with my Jewish friends in high school, and they're all Christians.
Mm.
Zev Zelenko, who is one of the people who did an introduction for my book, COVID-19 and the Global Predators, one of the few Jews who's just taking strong stands.
Hmm.
He died. Not they didn't kill him. He died. He just fought through cancer to keep working. But that Christian group I'm in now is the happiest group I've ever been in.
Mm.
I mean, and my wife's Christian. Her mother, who we have living with us for 9 years, is Christian. So I have a new personal religion. I'm a Jew who thinks Jesus was the greatest prophet of all time.
Mm.
And my
That
Christians
brings
love
up
it.
interesting conversations for sure.
Doesn't it? Oh my
Yeah.
God, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that not I'm not a what do they call the Jews?
Messianic Jew.
Yeah, I'm not a messianic Jew. No, that's a different thing. I'm actually a Jew who believes Jesus was the greatest rabbi of all time. And I'm happy to have the Christians promoting him because God certainly has wanted that, or it wouldn't have happened in such a grand way.
Mm.
And of course, the Jews eventually rejected him because, you know, you didn't want competition. I mean, he was such competition.
Yeah, he
And
was.
then,
And
and
he,
then when he became part of the boy, is this going far afield? Then when but it's having fun. Then when Christianity becomes part of the Roman Empire, and the Jews have to make this big choice, so they're going to, stay with Jesus, join the Roman Empire. Gets very confusing in the first couple of 100 years after Jesus.
yeah.
And so you get the leaders, the elite, um, just doing what they always do. They take over, they set the rules, and they set the opposition. And the Jews and the Christians, I don't know why they even kept us in the Bible, but they did. They put us in the Bible with them. But the separation occurs, and the leadership on either side dooms itself.
Yeah, that what you that's a whole different can of worms I can get into too. I just recently traveled to some of the Holy Land. So uh
Oh my.
well let's go back to methylene blue then. So that is the
So I got concerned that my almost entirely Christian friends were promoting methylene blue, making money from their not their pharmacies, but their stores, because you don't need a prescription for methylene blue. And they think, and many people I discovered thought methylene blue was new and amazing. But what really bothered me and still does is that leading companies are selling it that are supposed to be alternative medicine, and who told me they would never sell anything that was a pharmaceutical even.
hmm,
They may believe it's not a pharmaceutical. And it's the mother of all pharmaceuticals, methylene blue. I'll explain it. It's literally a mother, but too toxic to be FDA approved for that.
yeah, it predates the FDA because it was 1870s, right, when it came out.
That's right. I think
Yeah.
it might have been 1876, when it was discovered. It was the first chemical, people believe, history's hard to know, but people believe it was the first chemical made in a lab and applied to medicine.
Hmm.
And because of some effects that it has on the mitochondria, which is to enforce a greater uptake of oxygen, it could be used as an antidote to something called methemoglobinemia. I don't want to bother the audience about this very narrow concept, but basically, if the blood cells were poisoned by any number of drugs that could poison them, the mitochondria could pump up and make a better utilization of what oxygen there was.
Hmm.
This is seen as a miracle. It's not a miracle. It's an abnormality created in mitochondrial functioning, which happens to help you if you've been poisoned and you need the mitochondria to deliver an abnormal amount of oxygen. You see, that's the truth.
Hmm.
But what you hear is, see, this is a miracle. No, it's an abnormality that happens to coincide. And that's it. But what everybody is ignoring is that that's not the main effect of the drug.
Hmm.
And it never was thought of as the main effect, but it did get approved as by the FDA without testing for safety or efficacy, just grandfathered in. They did the same thing with electroshock. That's how evil the deep state is.
Mm.
They grandfathered in electroshock treatment is safe and effective. Repeated blows on your head till you can get killed by it.
Yeah.
I think what happened is that in itself, methylene blue was so neurotoxic to the brain, neurobrain toxic, poisonous,
Hmm.
that they never could directly use it.
Mm.
So, because the pharmacy people, they want to use something no matter what. And the idea that it was too high, some of the people twist this, I can understand it, but they twist things and say, well, the FDA didn't approve it because it was too good. New drug, too good. No, old drug, so bad that even the FDA couldn't approve it for general use. Because as the FDA points out, even with its limited use as an antidote to poisoning, it could kill you with a serotonin syndrome.
Mm.
What is serotonin syndrome? If you jack up the neurotransmitter serotonin too much with almost any antidepressant, certainly all the commonly used ones, the SSRIs, jack up serotonin, it can get way out of control and you can get a severe hyperactivity of your brain that results in your muscles tying up while you may shake, your brain losing its function, and you have a hypertensive crisis and you can die of a heart attack, or of a hypertension.
Mm.
Cave in your brain. Really, it can cave in your heart.
Hmm.
And so the FDA has this on its website. I think I'm the first person in our whole group of whatever, how many hundreds, who ever found it, because people didn't know enough to look. This is my area.
Hmm.
In addition, methylene blue, which you can get over the counter from too many places, jacks up everything that's called a monoamine oxidase, an MAOI. MAOIs are known for controlling serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, so that you don't get hurt by them. It's a control mechanism. Monoamine oxidase. It's supposed to stop it from getting out of control by its oxidation processes. That's maybe simple enough.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to inhibit. It's called an inhibitor. It's supposed to inhibit inhibit the things that are stimulating serotonin, dopamine, all of which can make you crazy, epinephrine, all those things can drive you into psychosis,
Mm.
mania, and so on. And indeed, it was early identified as an MAO inhibitor. And so what they did was they thought to themselves, the psychiatrists, if we tinker with it and make it less poisonous, they had to make it less poisonous, we'll give it as a stimulant. It'll make some people less depressed. They'll feel less depressed. We'll get a new stimulant. We'll get a new thing we can sell, though, as an antidepressant. That's what we'll tell people it is. Not just a stimulant, antidepressant. Glory be.
Mm. Yeah.
And what happened is we had a series of MAOI drugs. The first two were so bad that they actually threw them out of the FDA. The other three that are still around are almost never used. They're so dangerous. And if you make the mistake of eating the wrong food or taking the wrong drug and they combine, you can die of a serotonin syndrome. Now, since it's not in common use, the MAOI, one way to find out, and it's never been studied deeply, well, I do have some studies, but I'm not going to bother with them today.
Mhm.
Oh, I've written all about this on
Yeah,
our,
I've got your blog post about it. It's
okay. Let me
well,
just tell
well
you,
documented.
folks, go to Breggin, go to Peter and Ginger Breggin the Substack. Emergency notification. This is what I wrote. Emergency notification, : methylene blue is highly neurotoxic to your brain and mind. Subtitle comment: methylene blue is a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, MAOI. As such, it is one of the most toxic agents ever used in medicine and psychiatry, and the mother of the most dangerous drugs used in psychiatry.
There you go, people. Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that because several people have reached out to me asking my opinion on methylene blue, and I just have never studied it enough to feel
Hmm.
comfortable having an opinion. And then I saw you and Dr. Vliet talk about it. I'm like, finally, I can people I trust that would know what they're talking about. So thank you
Yeah.
for talking about that. And one of my understandings is you could prescribe any psychiatric med that you want to, but you don't prescribe any of them. Is that right?
Yeah, let me get to that in a minute, and I'll
Okay.
finish this up.
Okay.
Now, the FDA did study these things, so there is an official FDA label
Okay.
for Parnate, which is one of the MAOI inhibitors. And basically, they all do the same, but the studies are different. So sometimes it's a little different than what they happen to notice.
Hmm.
But this is under psychiatric disorders, the dangers of MAOI inhibitors for psychiatric disorders. So the psych, the first one, and that means it's the most common one, excessive stimulation slash overexcitement. Second, manic symptoms slash hypomania. Next, agitation. Next, insomnia. Next, anxiety. Then confusion, disorientation, loss of libido, nervous system disorders, dizziness, restlessness, akathisia, which is a horrible inner torment, akinesia, which is sort of stuck and unable to move, ataxia, which is unable to walk, myoclonic jerks, which are big jerks, tremors, hyperreflexia, your reflexes are out of control, muscle spasm, paresthesia, numbness, memory loss, the opposite, sedation, drowsiness, and on, and blood pressure elevation. And what's not in that list, because that's the psychiatric disorders, is serotonin syndrome, which looks like this, but which is a flagrant neurological disorder that can lead to death, but it's in that direction. Now, if you know anything about drugs, you know this is practically identical to methamphetamine.
Mm.
And the official chemical name of methylene blue is methyl methamphetamine.
Mm. Yeah, so that whole list of symptoms you just read are from these MAOI inhibitors, if I understand.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
And it is a classic and called this in the FDA literature MAOI inhibitor.
yeah. And that's the base
And
for so many of the psychiatric meds of today.
well, what happened is yes, first of all, as I noted, first, it became the first antidepressants, the
Mm.
first MAOI inhibitors, but they had to be tinkered with. You couldn't mess with this thing.
Mm.
And when they finally did mess with this thing, nobody uses them anymore. Nobody uses drugs, the drugs that you can buy over the counter, methylene blue, and that even freedom fighter organizations are forcing on you, and even freedom fighters themselves in their testimony,
Mm.
making money.
Yeah.
And some of them are real freedom fighters. Making money is actually so bad that it has never been able to be jerry-rigged into a drug that psychiatrists would want to use.
So,
And if you're on it, and by the way, let's say you're taking it
uh-huh.
and you happen to eat just a little too much or maybe just enough of something with soy in it,
Or drink a beer.
or drink a beer. Yeah, you read my stuff, or drink a beer, or eat any number of a dozen or 2 dozen foods, or if you happen to be on any other drug, like almost any psychiatric drug is going to interact with this, because almost any psychiatric drug is messing with at least one of those four neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, or epinephrine. It's a disaster. Don't do it. Don't risk it. And
Yeah.
my friends who are doing this and selling this, I still haven't been openly criticizing you. Please, for God's sake, stop before God taps me on the shoulder and says, Peter, you got to do it. You got to name these names.
Yep. I don't want them to have to go through that. So,
No, I don't
thank you
want
for
you guys.
warning them.
I don't want my friends to go through that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but talk about the supposed benefits. What are people actually experiencing when they're talking about all the ways they feel better?
Well, it was interesting because, one of our really greatest of greats, oh God, um, I won't even mention his name. He gets on the air and is bragging that he only took one half the dose of the drug he's selling, methylene blue. And it made him feel like he had every energy in the world. And he was this and this, and it all happened in half an hour. And then he gets other people. People will know who I'm talking about if they listen to him. He's like maybe the most heroic figure in freedom, and especially in taking on globalism. And then he has a friend come up and say, "Hey, did you experiment with it?" "Oh, yeah, I took it half an hour ago." "How do you feel?" "It's wonderful. I feel like I'm running while I'm sitting still." Gee, this is so
Gosh.
awesome. "I feel like I have more power than ever and I'm thinking better." I guarantee you, they're not thinking better. They're thinking more grandiosely. It's
Mhm.
part of the awful state you get into. And people tell me it's all about the dose. And that's what these people do when they defend themselves. "Oh, the dose. No, no, that's big doses are dangerous." First of all, no, it's the routine dose of MAOI that does it. But secondly, you can't say the dose is safe. You have people on television demonstrating it's making them near crazy and they don't even know it, and they jump around and look like weird people on television. It's the dose is sufficient to have an effect. It's potentially ruinous to your mind.
Yeah, they're
If
having a
any,
trip or more so, or a
that's
euphoria.
exact. Thank you for that. That's right. These people are on a stimulant, weird trip.
Mm. Yeah.
And I have criticized Bobby Kennedy. People, we have pictures of him taking what's probably methylene blue, and he's never said no. And other people have said on the air, "I know Bobby, and he loves his methylene blue."
Mm.
And Bobby is also encouraging giving veterans hallucinogens and MAOI-like drugs to
Mm.
now, do new things in medicine. It's not new, Bobby. I'm going to confront.
Yeah. Yeah.
And RFK, and this is dangerous. This is very bad.
Yeah.
Very bad.
Well, I'm thankful that somebody's courageous enough with the reputation you have to say something. So thank you for doing that. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
it's great. So
We did have to make a decision.
yeah, well, it's like a lot of topics. I'm like, do I want to get back into that
Yeah.
and take some more arrows or have people just come out of the woodwork to tell you that you're an idiot? Like, yeah, sometimes you just have to stand in the fire. And I look to people like you who've done it and say it's worth it. And I'd rather do right by my conscience and say something than just
Yeah.
sit on my hands. So I appreciate you doing that. So
Yeah.
I
So
guess,
let me talk generally about, thank you. Let me talk generally about the drugs. I want to finish in half an hour, I
okay,
think,
you got it. Yeah.
or so. In general, you can feel good with a psychiatric drug if it jacks you up and that makes you feel better. If it jacks you down and that makes you feel better. Or if it makes you indifferent, that is, you don't get lower, or are you getting different, which
Mhm.
I think is potentially the worst of all. And so people go on these drugs and stay on them because they're getting some sense at times of feeling more excited or feeling not so overwhelmed, but a little depressed, or they get numb.
Mhm.
Now, the final common pathway, and by the way, this is my stuff. Other people don't see this obvious. It's in all my books. It's in Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal. It has everything I'm talking to you about it in the first half. It is the best book. If you really can't afford a book that's priced like a medical book because it's put out by a medical publisher, because I wanted that power behind one of my books,
Mhm.
you can read a chapter about it in Medication Madness, but don't just come off your drug. It's
Yeah.
too dangerous, much, much too dangerous, much too dangerous. It's what I do a lot of is, help people come up. Very dangerous, very dangerous. Because the brain, well, that's part of what I want to tell you. So one of the most common things that happens, whether it's chronic blow on the head, chronic illness, chronic exposure to any drug from alcohol, marijuana, and other things, is you become less engaged in life.
Mhm.
You just lose your edge and you don't know it.
Yeah.
Early in Prozac, I had a patient come in. It was a very sophisticated spiritual man with his wife. And she brought him in, and they came in together, and she said, my husband's on this Prozac, and maybe she read one of my earliest books, sold almost 1 million copies, talking back to Prozac. Um, I was the medical expert for all the combined suits against Eli Lilly for Prozac. A
Wow.
judge empowered, federal judge empowered me to go look, me only to look at the secret materials inside of Eli Lilly.
Wow.
That's another whole story
I bet.
filled with fraud, deception. It's just an amazing story. But so this person came. I couldn't have written talking back to Prozac without having had that appointment because it gave me the opportunity, some of it paid, to dive into the literature, to interview people at the FDA. And I was a medical expert for all these lawsuits.
Mm.
Um, but he told me that he was comfortable on Prozac. And his wife said, honey, you don't even greet the dog happily when you come home. And she talked about the loss of consortium and love.
Mm.
And it took my colleagues a long time to recognize that practically everyone, man or woman on the drugs, begins to, quote, lose libido,
Mm.
or at least have some dysfunction. But because psychiatrists and physicians are in the lead, they miss the big point. They lose the capacity to love. They don't lose it, they can get back. And you don't even know it. You forget that you once looked at your wife, and at least sometimes it was just like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you just spin out of happiness, and you can't believe, you remember that you thought God must have arranged it. How could this woman love me, or how could I love her so much? It goes. It's not there anymore.
Mm.
I don't think there's a drug that doesn't take it away. But
Wow.
psych drugs are aimed at crossing your blood-brain barrier and being especially potent. And if they don't affect your frontal, they have to affect your frontal lobe, so they wouldn't even be a psych drug. But
Mhm.
when they affect your frontal lobes, the first thing that gets compromised is like when I would get up in the morning, recovering from a combination of toxicity and withdrawal from
Yeah.
taking a antihistamine.
Wow. Is that what you refer to as medication spellbinding? This idea that you just don't
Thank you.
even
You're
know.
helping me with this interview. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're welcome. Yeah. Go run with that term or define it for people. What is that?
Well, it's a term I invented because doctors don't want to see it. I shouldn't have had to invent it because we know from alcohol, we know from marijuana, we know from smoking cigarettes, things we see in front of our faces, that the bad effects on people aren't recognized by the people. It's not just that they're lying to themselves because they need the drug so bad. That's what I probably thought before I learned more on my own,
Mm.
not from the textbooks, but seeing people, working with people as a therapist. Because you got to be working with people. I mean, the psychiatrists no longer even talk to their patients, barely. They talk to the nurses who talk to the patients. I mean,
Eesh.
it's a disgrace. They don't even talk to the social worker who's treating the patient who sent them to it.
Mhm.
It's just a farce. It's assembly line drugging. But if you get to talk with the people, you realize they're not engaged with you like they must have been in the past. If
Mhm.
you do family therapy, like I love to do, my favorite thing is helping people love one another. Um, you hear from the husband with so many women are on their drugs, antidepressants in particular. You hear or antipsychotics, or mood stabilizers, or stimulants. And this is why teachers like kids on the stimulants. They disengage.
Yeah. They're easier to manage, I suppose.
They're easier to manage, and the children on many of these drugs, but particularly on the stimulants, they get OCD. So they do what they're told obsessively, but they
Mm.
don't learn more, they learn less. They will get so obsessive that they might be sitting in class and taking such notes that they even tear the paper with their pencil. Or one story of the kid whose dad asked him to go out and rake the lawn, and when the kid didn't show up, he went out and he was sitting under the tree making sure he caught each leaf.
Wow, man.
So, well, you see the same thing from addicts to stimulants. They'll go up on the roof of the house and start washing at risk of life, be washing in the roof or something. A lot of obsessive, it's from something that's done to that area I call the basal ganglia that people don't know enough about.
Yeah.
It's below the frontal lobes, the effect. So making our kids zombie-like. And I actually, when I write about this, I find my zombie-like syndrome in the American textbook of psychiatry from about 20 years ago that they took out. But they used to say, oh, and the children get a zombie effect. Well, it's a lesser zombie effect you're seeking,
Mm,
jerks.
yeah.
It's an extension of what you're seeking.
Yeah.
You make them little zombies.
Well, and the
So
sad part is they think that the medication is what is helping them function. They don't recognize that it's keeping them from functioning. Is that,
that's right. Exactly right.
yeah.
That's
I,
right.
I had a
You know,
client.
kamikaze pilots function on stimulant drugs.
It's
They used
just
to give
hyper
them their
focuses.
amphetamine and take it as a ritual, and it would help make them obsessively focused on what they were told.
Dang.
And in fact, during Afghanistan, they did that with some Canadian pilots and they accidentally bombed their own people. That's
Wow.
a true story. I'll have to look that one up again and remind myself of the source, but that's a true story.
Man. Yeah, I had a client years ago who was 100 pounds overweight, and she wanted me to help her get the weight off because she couldn't win the argument that that was healthy or that her family liked it or it was good for her career. But she was on one of these medications and her want to was gone. She literally did not care that she was overweight and there was no leverage point anywhere.
No.
It was my window into, whoa, if somebody doesn't want to work to get off these, I don't know that I can help them.
This is what that's right. This is what the antipsychotic drugs routinely do to people. They make them obese.
Hmm.
The SSRIs fool people because they have a stimulant effect often, not always. And if you get that stimulant effect, you lose weight for the first few months, and then you get the same effect, the chronic effect. It's obese.
Hmm.
It's it's a
Yeah.
it's a trap. And you mentioned the medication spellbinding. So people can't get out of their position because their frontal lobes are harmed enough to not be sensitive to their plight or motivated to get through it. But a loving partner can sometimes break through that.
Yeah.
They can break through it. I've seen loving partners understand even that they've been living with 10 years of craziness and it's not the woman they married or the man they married. It started with the drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some,
I was going to say, one of the things I appreciate about your work or just find so endearing is how much you genuinely care about the human condition. And hearing you talk today, I can sense it. So, yeah, I've heard you talk before just about kind of the point of suffering or the
yeah,
value it can have and that giving space to wrestle with hard things and instead of medicating or suppressing our feelings like this. So talk to the listener a little bit about that.
well, I shouldn't have to read myself, but I don't want to miss it. I have 5 principles that I try to live by.
Oh, you're doing good. You're preempting where I was going to wrap up. That's great. Keep going.
You're going to
The
wrap up with it?
principles are, no, not yet, but you can read them now. They're so good.
The first one, and I've tinkered on this ever since I gave the original rendition in a book called Wow, I'm an American,
Mhm.
which is really appropriate to now. The very title of the book, Wow, I'm an American, cost me my lifelong friend agent,
Hmm.
a buddy from my beautiful Jewish group in high school, became eventually my agent. And he wouldn't handle a book that said, Wow, I'm an American, because he was a progressive New Yorker. And he didn't wake up proud to be an American. It was my introduction into just how bad it had gotten.
Hmm.
But here, first, and I'll explain each one a little bit. This is not a bad place to be right now. First, dare to trust in a loving God. That's the last one I put on because I was embarrassed about it. And then I realized it takes a daring for an intellectual, I'm an intellectual, I think a lot.
Yeah.
And, I, I've written many scientific papers. I bolster all of my discussions with you today are in scientific papers
Yep.
on my website. Um, and in all of my books, no, not all, but in the books about drugs,
Yeah.
they're in there. And I realized I was daring to trust in a loving God,
Mm.
that my wife was saying God loves me, and I had to dare trust it.
Love that.
Is that
It
amazing?
is, and she's so good for you.
Well, listen, we were both so wounded, as often because of family and as often because of ourselves. We both had two marriages
Mm.
before this one. We both had divorces, and we both were scared to death of how much we loved each other at first sight.
Mhm.
And I, for one, after falling in love with her, never saw her again for 10 years. That's how scared I got. And I noticed that in my clients, that I often recognize when they fall in love because they're so scared they don't want to talk about it and they want to brush it off.
Huh.
And finally, God, had to be God, put me together in another part of the country, 2,000 miles away from where we met, and just stuck us together via a friend who was an ex-girlfriend of mine. And I met her and I asked her to marry me because I'd grown up.
Good for you.
That day, I
Yeah.
had courage, and that day she said yes.
Wow. Good timing.
And so I say we've been covertly in love for 10 years and we've been married for 42. Um, so one of the things she did, yeah, I want people to go and encourage people to dare love each other. One of the things she did, do you remember the movie? There was a black woman who was an angel and a beautiful white woman who was an angel. And the black woman was like really robust and strong. I wouldn't call her beautiful so much as just amazing and full of life. And they were angels
I have not seen this. Okay, keep going.
and touched by an angel. That
Okay.
was that was the series. And it always ended in this way with one of the angels. And I apologize for saying that other woman wasn't beautiful. Actually, she was not my classic beauty.
Okay. There you go. Fair enough.
But the other woman was a standard classic, ordinary white woman beauty.
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to be in a hole. Not that I haven't found black women very beautiful.
Right. Yeah. I don't, there's,
Including my nanny who
right.
raised me and gave me my spirit, handed me my Christian underlying spirit.
There you go. Wow.
Oh, it's so complicated. But it would always end with something Ginger decided I needed. And that is, as God's appointed angel, she would stand up to me when I was sad. And she would put a flashlight behind her head because she didn't have the radiance of a film,
Hmm.
artificial light and all. She would shine it up through her auburn hair and say, God loves you.
Wow.
And I know it because he told
Hmm.
me. After a while, and Ginger would look at my life with me, the outrageous fights I got in that I could have been destroyed in and that I won, except for when I started, I lost. And again, I was protected. I lost a fight because I was stupid. I was so bad at basketball. I was really fast. I would steal a ball. I was a track guy and I'd run down and I'd miss the layup. And I was so frustrated that I actually took a swing at the opposition guy in his own school on the way out.
Whoops.
Never started a fight before. I staggered and fell without his touching me. When I reached up to get up, my arm was under the iron fence. Remember those old iron
Yeah.
fences? And they got a railing that's low, and I'm completely stuck. I'm looking up at a guy who's now sitting on me, who's maybe 40 pounds heavier, and he looks at me, stands up and says, jerk, and walks away. So I would tell Ginger these stories about the big guy, the fiercest guy in town who attacks me. I managed to get him and force a before we even knew about these things, but I was kind of studying it. I forced them to tap out.
Mm.
And Ginger says to me, "You were protected. My God, he's got these things for you to do."
Mm.
That's ridiculous. That would be narcissistic. That would be stupid. I just went the secular Jewish route and progressive route, which I think goes with it. And I couldn't avoid the data, the data,
Mm.
the data of when they really tried to kill us and we survived. They went into our house, went right in the middle of my starting to be deposed for the Eli Lilly trials. And I'm not blaming Eli Lilly. It could have been any number of drug companies. Now I know it could have been the deep state. I didn't know that
Mm.
because they're protecting all of this. Somebody managed to get into our basement where a previous person we didn't know, but who came to fix the basement, had not cemented in to place either the exhaust from the furnace, a very old oil furnace, or the exhaust from the gas heater. And someone had come in later, as I reconstructed, and took them out and hid them in the corner. He came upstairs, his plumber was working on his, your stuff's been removed. And Allie was very sick. I was sick. We were going to doctors. Ginger was sick. But my office was above ground, and Allie and Ginger were right above the basement where they were all the time. And Ginger just has been, talking to me about this. We're protected. Do you realize
Yeah.
they've tried to take your license away? But you protected me, honey, because they tried to take my license away and they set up a committee of lawyers, my friends, my friend's lawyer, friendly. They got together with me and they said, "Peter, your license is being attacked
Mm.
was for remarks I made on Oprah Winfrey, not a patient.
Mm.
It was that I told people on Oprah Winfrey allegedly to stop taking their meds, which I never did even. I told them don't start taking them.
Mm. Which is different.
It's vastly different. I said, she asked me at the end. I got along really well with Oprah in those days. That changed later, and she didn't keep calling me back. But I think it changed because I think she went on Prozac,
Mm.
started to lose weight and look good. I think she was, because the last show I had with her, she trapped me, which was ridiculous because she so supported me. She supported me during the attack on my license and stuff. There was a change, it was very dramatic change. I'm whispering because it's so sacred. I don't know how to talk about this. But so they went after me for my what Oprah did was at the very end of the show, she said, "Peter, what if you go to a doctor and a new doctor and they start writing you a prescription for medication? What do you do?" Well, I had 30 seconds. I said, "Put it in your pocket, prescription." They didn't call them in those days. Don't take the drugs, but don't argue with the doctor. It's not safe as if he's a psychiatrist.
Mm.
And bleed. And go find a psychotherapist or any kind of doctor who really likes you and makes you feel good on the first visit.
No.
It's like shopping for a best friend. Basically what I said.
Yeah.
Must look a little different. And so, oh my God, did they go after me? The APA worked with a AstroTurf group called NAMI, who brought the suit against me. People were dying all over the country because of me. They could never find one person that was hurt by me. But that was only allegations. Well, they got a committee. My friends got a committee together. And they said, "Peter, here comes the angel ginger business." They said, "Peter, you have to slow down. Do not turn this licensure attack into a reform fight.
Mm.
Be collegial."
Wow.
Now, this was actually especially dangerous in Maryland, as I would find out, because they vet these charges through the AMA Committee on Ethics of the state of Maryland.
Hmm.
And I had been tearing new spaces for the AMA and what they were doing.
You've
And the state mental hospitals. The guy who was really the commissioner, a different title, he wrote a special letter saying, I'm watching what you're doing with
hmm.
it.
Wow.
Got on Discovery.
Yeah, you've
And
been through that.
they said, be really cordial, Peter. Don't make trouble for yourself. So we get ready to go to the AMA committee. We stop and we assess. We're scared, thinking of how I'll make a living,
Hmm.
thinking, well, I can really fix these guys if I go to law school. I could start all over again in a new way. I got great background being a lawyer. I'm great, do a lot of stuff. I'm thinking to be brave. And Ginger starts calling reformers around the country and asking them, what do they think? I would never do anything like that. There was a great pediatrician who I think they might have even taken his license away. She got to a few people and she looked at her own experience doing PRs, her great PR, and other things that she had done. And she comes to me and she says, honey, we got to whack them so bad that they'll regret it for the rest of their lives.
So I
She
love
said,
you're playing offense instead of defense, it sounds like.
well, yes, but really, because she said, I've been told that the only kind of people that join these committees are fascists.
Mm.
They want to get their colleagues and be mighty, punish people. This is not safe. She said, I want to go to the press.
Mm. There you go. That's one way to do it. You turned a
Well, and
number.
now you see it was 1980, late 80s, and it's a different press.
Yes, it
It's
is.
much, much better press, infinitely better press. So, even though it's bad. So Oprah has me back on. She is determined to support me.
Hmm.
She has me back on, and her chief person is openly calling me to talk to me and say, we're not backing down on you, Doc. And so I do a show on Oprah. It's not about this. And I come back and I come home. Hi, honey. I come in and she's sitting at my office desk. And she says, wait. I've got, oh God. I've got, and it's the biggest science writer in the country. The guy from New York Times who wrote Emotional Intelligence. Oh God, what's his name?
I don't know that one.
Oh wait, James, are you in the next room?
You phone a
And
friend. Yes, she would know.
she's on the line with the most important science writer in the world. Literally, nobody close. Whose name will come? Green. And she says to him, my husband just arrived and he wants to talk to you. And he says, I don't want to talk to your husband. Tell me more. So I don't even get to talk to him. He's so important. And Dan Goldman. And he comes out with a very balanced piece that suggests it's a freedom of speech issue and not even a medical issue.
Nice.
But it's a kind of balanced,
Yeah.
you know. And then Ginger gets every major newspaper she calls to cover this thing.
Wow. There's your angel. Yeah.
And then, yeah, this is about angels, folks. We're going to end the show. I want you to think about your own life, folks. And if you, and I only got through, for God's sakes, the first principle of trust in a loving God. That's all I'm talking about. I'll tell you quickly in a couple of minutes, and then I'll be done the other principles. But let this show inspire you. So then we go to the medical meeting of the fascists of the medical society, the Maryland Medical Society, called the Ethics Group. And they won't let Ginger in. And I say, I'm not coming. Well, we don't let one. And I said, okay, well, I won't appear. You can come in with your lawyer. I said, I'm not coming. So they backed down. I come in with Ginger on my left, my lawyer on my right. And in the middle, while the chairman woman clearly thinks I'm a pain in the neck, and the only psychiatrist among the 20 people or so is only one psychiatrist, and that we had not been alert enough to check him out. I assumed he was bad. But I didn't check him out. Maybe I was afraid, maybe I was too busy. And in the middle of it, a butcher-looking psychiatrist who was an orthopedic surgeon or an OBGYN, I forget which, he says, and Doc, I've listened to the whole transcript, and you said these drugs damage people's brains. I said, do you know what tardive dyskinesia is, sir? No. I look at the chairman, probably avoiding the psychiatrist, and I say, Madam, may I give a seminar on brain damage from psychiatric drugs, a brief one, 10, 15 minutes, so that you will understand my motivation in going to the public because doctors don't know the truth. And the psychiatrist pipes up, yes, I'm for it.
Ah,
He was a family therapist. He was an old timer.
yeah,
He was back in the days when my
yeah.
colleagues treated patients. And so I did.
Hmm.
So it's over. And she says to me, okay, Dr. Breggin, we're going to recommend that no charges be brought against you. But
Nice.
I warn you, that's up to the committee it's up to the Maryland medical licensure people. So don't go to the press anymore. Bing. And so my lawyer says, great, we're going home, our lawyer. And once we get to this little room, when we finish, gone home, Ginger says, I'm not going to give up our free speech. Our free speech ahead of our medical license is already, we've been together 3 years, it's already our medical license.
Yep.
And she says, I have the phone number of 8 home numbers. It's nighttime now. I have 8 home numbers of the press, and they're waiting to hear what happened. She said, I don't think she told me. She didn't want to bother me. And I've got a whole purse full of quarters. I want to go to the hotel, to the bank of phones, and start calling. I
Back in
said,
payphone days. Nice.
yeah. I said, okay. And our lawyer, he was such a wimp out. God bless him. He was a nice man. I think he could quit doing the law. He actually was the head of the local ACLU.
Hmm.
And no, their lawyer. He was a big lawyer with ACLU. But anyway, I don't want to implicate or even identify him. So we they'd call, they'd give their little explanation, then they would have me on, and New York Times carried a second story. The Baltimore Sun, who was with us, waiting outside for us, did a big story. The AP carried the story all over the world.
Hmm.
The Washington Post, who their science writer wouldn't even talk to us, pigs. But she found another reporter. The other reporter carried it. And they not only exonerated me, they apologized at length, the state medical licensure people. They thanked me for my contribution to medicine in the state of Maryland. And then a man I didn't know, who was their medical committee head person, gave an interview saying it was a freedom of speech issue and never should have been brought. Do
Wow.
I have an angel or not?
Yeah. Well, it's like you two were brought together just so that your mission could continue on some level beyond all the
Well,
other benefits of it.
this is what she said from pretty early on,
Hmm.
And I think what completely I mean, when I found out she hadn't finished college, my first thought was go to college. And she went to college and she got so many credits for work that she started as a junior for the work she'd been doing previously. And then she wrote a paper for a graduate school paper. This is her first semester. And she won the award for the whole university for the best graduate paper in social sciences. And she said, I think I'm going to stay home and take care of my daughter, Annalie,
Hmm.
and you, and I'm going to do this work.
Wow. And here
It's
you
going to
are
be,
ever since.
isn't this something?
It is. It's a remarkable story. I appreciate how you've woven and kind of bookended the sciencey part of it with just who you are, what
Mhm.
drives you,
So let me finish
yeah,
with the principles.
go for it.
I've probably lost my notes, but I
Oh,
should
I've
remember
got them
them.
here if you want them.
All right. So I don't know where I put it. So the first principle to remind you is dare to trust in a loving God. The next principle is take responsibility at all times. Boy, I mean at all times.
Hmm.
So if you and your wife are having an argument, take responsibility for yourself and help her then take
Hmm.
responsibility for herself by seeing your image. Do not put a responsibility on your loved ones. Take responsibility in every way you can.
Hmm.
And the third one is express gratitude for your gifts and opportunities. And I do that. I do it all day long. So help me God. And the next one is stand firm for freedom. And the final one is become a source of love.
Yeah, those are great. I captured those when I saw them on your site. I'm like, I don't know that I could come up with better ones. They're just so good, and I
I've
like
been
where,
thinking about it since I was a kid. Somehow or other, it's just what I was meant to think about things since I was a kid. And
yeah,
I said as a kid that if I believed in God, I'd probably be a rabbi.
yeah,
And now a rabbi is just a teacher.
yeah. Well, you
So,
became an advocate for when you found all the people that you didn't have one, and you saw so many people that didn't have one, and that just it obviously put a fire in your belly
yeah,
into perpetuity to stand up for the people that are unseen or the people that don't have
yeah,
an advocate. And it's
yeah. And then when COVID hit, I was in a really good position because both Ginger and I now had all the expertise because she's got it all about the drugs, enough to surprise me with new things I haven't thought about in every area, any area.
Mhm.
Um, and then she smiles and says, well, I've been in training for 40 years. She's very
Yeah.
kind to me.
No, you absorb a lot. She's obviously didn't.
She's just amazing. Um, and she's just amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm thinking about it makes me anxious sometimes when I talk about what we have
Mm.
because there are enemies.
Yeah.
And once in a while I say this, and I'm going to say it. Hurt us badly enough, and you will make martyrs of us. So help me God, there are millions of people that love Ginger Breggin or Peter Breggin.
Hmm. Yeah.
And hurt us. You tried once, twice. I've talked about it. People will be alert. Really hurt us. For my age, it's euthanasia. I want to see Ginger have another 20 years.
Mm.
Uh, and you will martyr us. So help me God. So anyway,
Yeah. Well, I'm confident your work is going to outlive you and inspire so many people. And we will, I'm the next generation here to carry the torch and to make sure that
yes,
we take this
absolutely.
disgusting system that has an anti-human agenda in many ways and turn it into what it could have been that actually cares for people. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's about the whole world, folks. Now the corruption, I watched it grow. The whole world is in a state of corruption that it was never in before. And it's largely because it's like the danger. So you develop an atomic bomb, you can use it for atomic energy and meet all energy needs, or you can blow people to hell with it, or you can,
Hmm.
make the world uninhabitable with it. Well, it's the same thing with communication. It's the same thing with everything that we have in this modern world. Ability to ship things, our ability to communicate instantly, our ability to get materials anywhere in the world. It's great for disasters, but it also opens the way for emperors to want to rule the world. And we really are facing corruption on the level of people who want to rule the world. And that is what I look at in the global predators, COVID-19, the global predators, we are the prey.
Yeah.
We're both, Ginger and I are both authors. I mainly do the writing, but she does so much to inform me, inform the book, research. And we published that book. She made a publishing company and published that book. She didn't just go get somebody to help her do it. She became the publisher and she published it. And 45 minutes after, because we knew we were turned down by one of the most radical publishers in the country after accepting it, said, now I don't want it a day later. So we had a sense of just what we were really now beginning to face. And so we were already threatened by YouTube that you better be nice or we'll throw you off. So we were nice when you knew the book was coming out. There were no more cautions, no more warnings. And when the book came out, published by Ginger under the name of Lake Edge Press, um, her publishing company, not mine, her publishing company. I went on YouTube and announced it. We had a huge audience, 45,000 back then in 1981. And they took us down in 45 minutes permanently.
This so not 1981. Yeah, in 2021, you mean?
21. I'm
Okay.
sorry, mistake.
Yeah.
2020. Thank you. I make that mistake a lot. 2021.
Yeah.
They took us down literally in less than 15 minutes because when I went to look it up, we were gone
Yeah. I had a video
already.
of my last interview. We put a clip on YouTube and they um, slapped us with a "you can't post again for 3 months." Just like, of course, just
And what was it on?
it was on autism and the possibility that you could recover from it. And that's verboten on YouTube. You're not allowed to
Hey,
talk.
folks, I've helped people recover from serious autism, at least one person, I didn't get to see too many, who
Hmm.
went on to have a great life.
Hmm.
And I've helped others, children like that. And you know how I did it? I helped the parents love and discipline them.
What a
The parents did it. I barely saw the kid that in this small community I live in who went on to live a wonderful life. I barely saw him because I told him if his parents changed and he worked with his parents, he was going to get better. And his parents agreed. Don't buy this line. Bobby pushes it like crazy. I think he gets a lot of money for it. Bobby Kennedy, RFK.
Mm.
Yes, autism is a disorder, even by definition of psychiatry, the DSM, the Diagnostic Manual. They want everything to be biologic. They
Yeah,
can't attribute autism to genetics or biology. They just can't find anything
because it's not. It's something
because
else.
it's not.
Right.
I believe it is a deeply learned issue of socialization. And the man who invented the concept said, it's new, 1950s, Leo Kanner, said, Canner, said, everyone I'm saying practically who have children who have just stopped relating to them are not much raising their children, or somebody else is raising their children. Most of them are a couple of two working, professional, highly intelligent people. You outline the whole thing. And that's exactly the parents who were responsible enough, take responsibility to say, we were both in school training like crazy to be high-power professionals.
Hmm.
And I said, Dad, will you see him at least every weekend from now on? Special time he knows is coming. He said, you bet I will. And will you two work with me on loving each other, loving him, and setting boundaries? Because that was the first thing I did. The kid came in actually worse than just autistic yet. It was hallucinating stuff.
Hmm.
But he was diagnosed autistic and was going to get drugged. And I set a limit on him right away. I said, son, it's not in your best interest. Act crazy. Come sit down here. He said, yeah, it's terrible for you. Come sit down here. And
Yeah.
he sat down. And I said, you don't have to be like this. We're going to help you. And he did, as this happens, he actually pretty much had a normal conversation with me from now on. But if it's an adult, it doesn't happen in that phase.
Huh.
Boy, it can keep going back and forth for a long time. But
Yeah. I can imagine how many times you have practiced the skill of talking to people who others just don't know how to get through to. That's amazing.
I've really been working on it. And now, again, I'm going to be very abstract. I have clients who don't speak, and I see them on the phone with a family.
Really?
They barely don't speak or they don't much speak.
Huh.
And I'm learning to engage people who basically don't want to be there, but they'll show up a little.
Hmm.
And we're not forcing them. And I talk with the family member
Wow.
and they listen.
That's an interesting way
I,
to do therapy. I love it.
I mean, it's about showing people that they matter. I mean, I can
Yes, it
literally
is.
yell across the room, hey, and I'd like to see you again. That was great last week, that last 2 minutes we had.
Right. No,
Because,
you're right.
and you get fond of people. If you learn about people and they're decent enough to show up,
Hmm.
they're lovable.
Yeah. Well, and
You
you've
work at it. You don't even have to really work at it very hard.
no, because we all want to be
Not
seen.
in therapy because they're already somehow there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be true about, Hitler or Fauci, but it's true about the people who come for help, even if they're coming reluctantly and somebody's holding their hands.
Yeah.
So there's hope out there, folks.
There is.
Dare
There
to
is.
have hope, I might add to this.
Yeah. Please do. And that's a good maybe note to end on. But
Yeah.
anything else you want to say to the listener? Anything we didn't cover that's burning in you that is important, or let people know where they can find you, or
Love is ageless.
Hmm, that's a good one.
Instead of running out as you get older, you get wiser and you can love each other better.
Yeah. There you go.
I was so infatuated and out of my mind about this woman, Ginger. Practically at first sight, I thought, man, that was it. That's why I got so scared. But there's other levels. There's other levels where you got to bring in God or you won't know what's going on. I really think, for me, that's true.
Yeah. Well, I think
And
it.
I don't force that on my clients, but most of my clients are Christians because of who I am. Now they're Christians who believe in freedom. We're often, at least they believe in our principles, even
Hmm.
not necessarily leaders in the movement or anything.
Hmm.
So they're really happy to be surprised to hear that. Sure, why wouldn't God be here if he's in this room as well as anywhere else?
Yeah. And the love frame is important. Like there's the dare part of your intellectualizing God, but
Yeah.
it's a leap of faith to dare to could that possibly be true? And if God is existing and he's loving, that changes everything. And somehow
And
that's
could this
settled in you.
feeling much better? Could that be just fake? I mean, well, maybe. Who? What? I feel better. I
Right.
mean, it's like you get better.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're resonating with the one relationship you're made for, the primary one, and the rest comes from that.
Yeah.
So I love it. Man, it was been an honor spending time with you today. I know I kept you over, so I appreciate
Yeah, but
it.
this is a beautiful interview. I love it.
Well, thank you.
I'd like to put it up, send us a copy. You going to edit it much?
No, I don't know that I need to. Well, I'll
All
let
right.
people
Nothing there that I
attracted to
can,
so many different parts of it, and that's the beauty of an
yeah,
kind of a ranging interview. And
it is
we
arranging
can do
and
another one on other topics and let
yeah,
people.
let's at another time if it fits with you. It may not. If it fits with you, my next book is really going to be on hidden empires, which are really right there to see in
Hmm.
front of your nose, your face, who are trying to destroy us. They're trying to destroy, as all empires have always done, and I don't know anybody else has ever faced this as directly as me.
Hmm.
All empires thrive on destroying freedom and destroying love.
Yeah, that's
That's what the book is about. Trump is facing empires. Some of them are really subtle and some of them are in your face. And I'm writing about that. It's not a mystery. I'm writing about it on the website now.
on Substack. Yeah.
on Substack now.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to do.
Great. All right. Well, we'll reconnect for another get together.
Sure.
I
When the book comes out, we'll surely call you.
all right. Sounds good then. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending time today. It's wonderful. I have links for all you
Oh,
guys in the show
God. It's
notes.
been delightful to meet you. Maybe someday you'll be passing by in upstate New York. Delightful to meet you.
I hope so. I'd love to meet you in person.
Watch this guy. If you tuned in for the first time,
Yeah, come check me out. Deconstructing conventional. I got a whole bunch of other cool people like this guy that I've talked to. So good having you.
super.
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
some of my best friends, actually.
Well,
Because you know some of my
I,
best friends.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I'd like to meet anybody else that's your best friend. I would be happy to meet.
Okay, we'll think about that. We'll look into that.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much
Okay,
for the time today.
bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Deconstructing Conventional. If this conversation sparked new questions or helped you see things in a new light, feel free to share it with a friend who is on a similar journey. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode and a perspective that challenges the norm. Check us out on our website at healingunited.today and find us on social media at Healing United, or you can check out the Healing United PMA app. It's a great way to stay connected. Remember, question everything and rebuild intentionally.